For over 2 billion Christians worldwide, today marks the absolute pinnacle of their faith. Then there is the secular reality, children scrambling across the White House lawn to find plastic eggs hidden in the grass. These two scenes appear to share nothing in common. One centers on a brutal execution and an empty tomb, the other on pastel aesthetics and a mythical candy-bearing rabbit. Easter functions as a complex tapestry, woven together from the remnants of different empires, climates, and belief systems over the course of 2 millennia. To understand how these conflicting symbols merged, we have to act as cultural archaeologists, digging down through the history of the holiday, layer by layer. The topmost layer of the holiday, the chocolate egg, originated quite recently as a byproduct of the 19th century Industrial Revolution. Before the 1870s, gifts were simple, painted chicken eggs. Advancements in cocoa pressing allowed companies like Cadbury to mass-produce hollow chocolate on an industrial scale. Retailers realized that the long months between Christmas and summer were a profit desert. They transformed the Spring Festival into a marketable, family-friendly spending event to fill that gap. This commercial layer also popularized the holiday's second mascot, the Easter Bunny. This tradition reaches back to 17th century Germany and the myth of the Osterhase, or Easter hare. European immigrants brought the legend to America in the 1700s, carrying the story of a springtime figure who judged children's behavior and delivered eggs to those who were good. The modern consumer holiday is a lucrative veneer manufactured to hide much older and more pragmatic traditions. Beneath the industrial chocolate is the original painted chicken egg. For thousands of years, across nearly every ancient culture, the egg served as a universal symbol of fertility and new life. In medieval Europe, this symbolism met a practical reality. During the 40 days of Lent, the Church forbade the consumption of meat and dairy. Because chickens continued to lay eggs during the fast, farmers ended the winter with a massive surplus. The Church rebranded these prized eggs for Easter Sunday. They taught that cracking the hard shell of the egg directly represented the opening of Christ's stone tomb. This rebranding followed a directive from Pope Gregory the Great in 501 AD. He instructed his missionaries not to destroy pagan temples or festivals, but to repurpose them for Christian worship. By blending the theology of resurrection with existing celebrations of rebirth, the Church ensured the holiday would survive as it spread across the continent. Digging deeper takes us to 325 AD. At the time, the early Roman Church was fractured, with different regions celebrating the resurrection on different days. Emperor Constantine needed a standard calendar to unify his empire. He convened the Council of Nicaea to fix the date of the holiday permanently by anchoring it to the movements of the sun and moon. The council established the formula still used today. Easter falls on the first Sunday after the first full moon following the spring equinox. Tying the date to the lunar cycle preserved the holiday's connection to the Jewish calendar and the ancient festival of Passover. Passover commemorates the night God delivered the Jewish people from slavery in Egypt, sparing those who marked their doors with the blood of a sacrificial lamb. Because the execution of Jesus occurred in Jerusalem during Passover, early Christians recast the ancient ritual. They positioned him as the final sacrificial lamb, whose death offered a different kind of deliverance. By aligning this execution with the lunar cycle and the ritual of the lamb, the early church anchored the resurrection to the very start of the Jewish faith. If we remove the church, Rome, and even Passover, we reach the final layer, the absolute bedrock of the holiday. For ancient humans, winter was a time of starvation and fear. To those shivering in the dark, the lengthening of days and the melting of snow wasn't just a change in weather, it was a literal resurrection of the earth. The Anglo-Saxon goddess Eostre personified this dawn of spring. She represented the return of light to the world and the explosive return of fertility to the soil. Beneath the theology, the folklore, and the chocolate, Easter remains a celebration of the spring equinox. It is an expression of the unshakable hope that after the longest, darkest winter, life will always begin again.